It was a sunny autumn afternoon at Parque das Flores, a place known for its lush gardens and winding trails that attracted visitors of all ages. The park, a haven of tranquility in the middle of the city, was filled with families, couples, and children enjoying the mild weather. Among the trees, which were beginning to show golden and red hues, the sounds of laughter and happy voices filled the air, creating an atmosphere of joy and relaxation. Rafael, a 28-year-old man with a calm and contemplative expression, was walking through the park in search of inspiration. As a freelance illustrator, he often found the creative spark he needed for his work in natural landscapes. With a camera in his hand and a sketchbook in his backpack, he lost himself in the serene beauty of the scenery around him. As he walked, Rafael noticed something that made him stop. Sitting alone on a bench near a lake, a small figure caught his attention. It was a little girl, about 5 years old, with curly blonde hair that shone in the sun and large blue eyes that looked around with a mix of curiosity and anxiety. She was wearing a simple cotton dress and clutched a teddy bear tightly, seemingly the only comfort in her solitude. The expression on the girl's face, a mix of confusion and fear, made Raphael's heart ache. He looked around, hoping to see an adult who seemed to be looking for her, but saw no one who appeared to be searching for a lost child. He hesitated for a moment, but concern made him move forward. He approached slowly, not wanting to scare her, and crouched down beside the bench, bringing himself to the girl's level. "Hi, are you okay?" Raphael asked with a gentle and welcoming smile. "Are you lost?" The girl looked at him, her eyes full of relief and a touch of fear. She hugged the teddy bear closer to her chest and nodded timidly. I don't know where my mommy is," she said, her voice soft and hesitant. "I was playing and suddenly couldn't find her." Raphael felt a wave of empathy. He knew how frightening it could be for a child to be lost in a place full of strangers. He looked around again, making sure no adult was approaching. The park was busy, but no one seemed to be desperately searching for a child. "What's your name?" he asked, keeping his voice calm and reassuring. "Julia," the girl replied, with a mix of hope and fear on her face. "Nice to meet you, Julia. My name is Raphael," he said, offering a comforting smile. "Let's find your mommy, don't worry. Do you know where you last saw her?" Julia shook her head, her eyes beginning to fill with tears. Raphael realized he needed to act quickly to prevent the situation from worsening for the girl. "It's okay, we'll figure it out," he said, trying to sound as confident and reassuring as possible. "Let's look for someone who can help. Can you hold my hand?" Julia looked at him for a moment, then nodded and reached out her small hand, still holding her teddy bear. Raphael gently took her hand, feeling the fragility and trust the girl was placing in him. With Julia by his side, he started walking through the park, scanning the faces around him, hoping to find someone looking for her. As they walked, Raphael tried to keep Julia calm by asking questions about her teddy bear and what she liked to do. Julia talked a little more about Teddy, her teddy bear, explaining that it was her favorite toy and that she always took it with her. The conversation helped distract Julia, but Raphael still felt a growing concern. He knew they needed to find help, and fast. Seeing the park's information kiosk, Raphael felt a momentary relief. He headed to the kiosk, where a friendly attendant greeted him. Raphael quickly explained the situation, and the attendant promptly made an announcement over the loudspeakers, informing that a girl named Julia was waiting for her parents at the park's administration office. While they waited, Raphael noticed Julia's growing anxiety. He sat beside her on a nearby bench, holding her hand. She looked around anxiously, desperately searching for a familiar face. Raphael tried to comfort her by telling a funny story about when he himself got lost in a park as a child, but he could see that Julia was on the verge of tears. "It will be okay, Julia. I'm sure your mommy is looking for you right now," Raphael said, trying to offer comfort. Time passed, and no one showed up. Raphael's anxiety grew, as did Julia's. He tried to think of other steps they could take, even considering calling the police if Julia's parents didn't appear soon. Raphael couldn't imagine leaving Julia alone in such a situation. At that moment, a park security officer approached, informing them that no one had come looking for a lost child and that it might be best to contact the police. Raphael agreed, and the officer made the call. Meanwhile, Raphael and Julia continued to wait, with the weight of uncertainty growing heavier by the minute. After the announcement made over the park's loudspeakers, Raphael and Julia continued to wait at the park's administration office. Time seemed to drag on, and Raphael's concern grew. He watched the visitors passing by, hoping to see someone frantically searching for Julia, but there was no sign of any distressed adult. The absence of any response to the announcement began to worry Raphael more deeply. To keep Julia calm, Raphael continued talking to her. He discovered that she loved playing in the park and that her mother often brought her there on weekends. Julia described how she liked running on the grass and watching the ducks in the lake, always holding her teddy bear, Teddy, tightly. With each word, it became more evident that Julia was confused and scared, not fully understanding the gravity of the situation. "Do you know your mommy's full name, or have any phone numbers we can call?" Raphael asked, trying to get any information that might help. Julia frowned, thinking, "My mommy's name is Carla, but I don't know her phone number," she replied, shaking her head. "And she said not to talk to strangers. But you're not a stranger, are you, Raphael?" Raphael smiled to reassure her. "No, Julia, I'm your friend," he assured her, gently squeezing her hand. "We'll find your mommy, okay? Do you remember what she was wearing today?" Julia thought for a moment and then answered, hesitantly, "I think she was wearing a pink blouse, or was it blue?" She looked at Raphael, looking even more lost. "I don't remember." Raphael sighed internally, aware that even the most attentive children could forget important details in stressful moments. He realized they needed professional help and, while still waiting for a response to the announcement, decided to call the police. He explained the situation to the dispatcher, who promised to send an officer to help locate Julia's parents. While waiting for the police to arrive, Raphael continued trying to keep Julia distracted. He took her to a small cafe in the park and bought her a juice and a snack. While Julia ate, he tried to maintain light conversation, asking about her favorite toys and what she liked to do on vacation. Raphael wanted to keep the atmosphere as calm as possible, knowing that Julia was on the verge of panic. Finally, the police officer arrived, a woman of about 30 with a friendly and professional expression. Her name was Mariana. She introduced herself to Raphael and Julia, kneeling down to be at the girl's level. "Hi, Julia. My name is Mariana. I'm here to help you find your mommy. Okay?" she said with a comforting smile. Julia nodded, still clutching the teddy bear tightly. Mariana asked Raphael what he knew so far, and then tried to get more information from Julia, but the girl's answers remained vague and confusing. Mariana then suggested that they all return to the park's administration office, where they could wait in case Julia's parents showed up. As they walked back, Raphael noticed that Mariana seemed worried, but tried to keep a calm expression to avoid alarming Julia. At the administration office, Mariana made a series of calls, checking missing persons records and trying to find any clues about Julia's identity and her parents. In cases like this, We usually receive a call from desperate parents within minutes, Mariana explained to Raphael. The fact that no one has contacted us is unusual. Raphael felt a chill run down his spine. The situation was becoming more complex than he had imagined. He looked at Julia, who was now sitting, swinging her legs and looking at the floor. Raphael sat next to her, trying to offer some form of comfort, though he felt a growing unease. Mariana returned, looking concerned. We haven't found anything in the records so far, but we'll keep checking, she said. Raphael, could you stay with Julia while I make some more calls? We need to explore all possibilities. Raphael agreed, feeling a growing responsibility toward the girl. He turned his attention to Julia, trying to keep her entertained while Mariana worked. He took out his sketchbook from his backpack and started drawing for Julia, asking what she would like to see on paper. Julia chose to draw a duck, remembering the ducks in the lake. As they drew together, Raphael continued to worry about the whereabouts of Julia's parents and what might be happening. Time passed, and Raphael began to fear that the situation was more serious than a simple loss of contact. He tried not to show his concern to Julia, but the uncertainties were becoming more present. Raphael knew that, regardless of what happened, he needed to ensure Julia was safe. At the park administration, the atmosphere was becoming increasingly tense. Mariana, the police officer, was in constant contact with the station, updating her colleagues on the situation and asking them to check any reports of missing children. Meanwhile, Raphael tried to keep Julia calm and distracted. They were sitting in a small room where Mariana had provided some toys and snacks for Julia. Despite Raphael's attempts to keep the environment light, the concern was palpable. Mariana returned to the room, bringing a small bottle of water for Julia. She knelt down beside the girl, trying to get more information. Julia, can you remember anything else about today? Mariana asked in a soft voice. Maybe what your mommy was wearing, or if you saw anything unusual. Julia thought for a moment, clearly trying to remember something useful. She bit her lip and then answered, hesitantly, I think my mommy had a big bag. She always has a big bag. And I think there was a man near us, but I don't remember very well. Mariana and Raphael exchanged looks. The mention of a man near them added a new layer of complexity to the situation. Mariana asked a few more questions, but Julia couldn't remember any more details. The confusion and fear in the girl's eyes were evident, and Mariana didn't want to press her further. Mariana stood up and signaled to Raphael, indicating that she needed to speak with him privately. They moved a little way off, keeping Julia in sight. This is getting stranger and stranger, said Mariana, with a serious tone. The girl doesn't seem to have clear information, and we haven't received any calls from parents looking for her. Also, the description of a man near them is concerning. It could be something innocent, but we can't rule anything out. Raphael nodded, feeling the weight of the situation. He asked Mariana what else they could do to help Julia. We're checking all the park security cameras and also reviewing missing persons records. Additionally, we'll send a photo of Julia to other stations and hospitals, Mariana explained. But for now, we can't do much more than wait and try to find more information. As they waited, Mariana continued communicating with other teams. Raphael returned to Julia, trying to reassure her with stories and drawings. He felt a growing sense of responsibility for her, as if he had been unexpectedly cast in the role of her guardian. Mariana rejoined them, bringing some updates. Unfortunately, we still haven't heard from Julia's parents, but we have good images from the security cameras, and we're going to enlarge them to see if we can identify the man she mentioned. In the meantime, I suggest we take Julia to the station. It will be easier to coordinate the search from there. and she can be more comfortable while we sort this out. Raphael agreed, understanding the need for procedure. He asked Mariana if he could accompany Julia to the station. Mariana, seeing the comfort Raphael brought to the girl, accepted the offer. Of course, Raphael. Your presence seems to calm Julia. I think it would be good for her if you came with us, Mariana said, with a grateful smile. They prepared to leave, with Mariana ensuring the process was as smooth as possible for Julia. As they walked to the police car, Raphael held Julia's hand, offering her an encouraging smile. We're going to a place where we can find more information about your mommy, okay? Raphael said, trying to keep the tone positive. Julia nodded, holding tightly to her teddy bear and Raphael's hand. On the way to the station, Mariana tried to keep the conversation light, asking Julia about her favorite things, like cartoons and favorite foods. Raphael also participated, creating a more relaxed environment for the girl. At the station, they were met by a team prepared to help Julia. Mariana and Raphael took the girl to a comfortable room where she could wait while the investigations continued. The team was attentive, providing toys and drawing materials for Julia. Mariana met with other officers to discuss the case. They reviewed the security camera footage, trying to identify the man Julia had mentioned. Meanwhile, Raphael stayed with Julia, drawing and telling stories to keep her distracted. After some time, Mariana returned with a serious expression. We found something in the footage, she said to Raphael in a low tone. There's a man who seems to be following Julia and the woman we believe to be her mother. We couldn't get a clear image of his face, but we're working on it. We also discovered that Julia doesn't appear in any recent birth or missing persons records, which is quite strange. Raphael felt a wave of concern. The situation was becoming more complex and disturbing. He asked Mariana what they would do next. We'll continue investigating and try to locate the man in the footage. Additionally, we're expanding our search to other cities and regions. Something's not right here, and we need to find out what it is, Mariana replied with determination. As night approached, Raphael noticed that Julia was getting tired. He helped arrange a place for her to rest at the station, ensuring she was comfortable. Julia, exhausted, quickly fell asleep, still holding her teddy bear. Raphael and Mariana retreated to a nearby rest area, where they discussed the case in detail. Raphael expressed his concern for Julia's safety and asked what would happen if they couldn't find her parents. If we can't locate Julia's parents, we'll have to place her in temporary social services until we can resolve this, Mariana explained. It's a complicated situation, but our priority is to ensure she's safe. Raphael nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. He was determined to help Julia in any way possible, feeling increasingly connected to her. As night fell, the station was in a controlled frenzy, with police working on multiple fronts to solve Julia's case. Mariana was in constant communication with other police stations and security services, trying to piece together the puzzle. Meanwhile, Raphael, increasingly invested in Julia's safety and well-being, stayed by her side as she slept soundly on a couch in the waiting room. Raphael, unable to completely relax, began mentally reviewing everything he knew so far. The memory of Julia mentioning a man near her and her mother in the park disturbed him. He felt that something was very wrong and was anxious for answers. Raphael decided to ask Mariana about the progress of the investigation, hoping to gain some clarity. Mariana approached Raphael, wearing a serious expression. She led him to a private meeting room where they could speak in private. Sitting across from him, she took a deep breath before speaking. Raphael, the situation is more complicated than we imagined, she began, choosing her words carefully. We've analyzed the security camera footage and managed to identify the man who was near Julia and the woman in the park. Unfortunately, he's known to the police, involved in human trafficking cases. Raphael felt his stomach churn at this news. His heart raced as he absorbed what Mariana was saying. Human trafficking? That's... Raphael struggled to find the words. That's very serious. And the woman Julia was with? Is she really her mother? Mariana shook her head, confirming Raphael's worst fears. We're still verifying all the information, but it seems Julia may not be the biological daughter of the woman she was with, Mariana explained, with a somber expression. There are indications that Julia was taken from her real family some time ago. We're trying to confirm the details, but it appears she may have been a victim of illegal adoption. Raphael was shocked, feeling a mixture of sadness and anger. He looked toward the room where Julia was sleeping, completely unaware of the chaos and tragedy surrounding her. And now, what happens? Raphael asked, trying to stay calm. What will we do to protect Julia? Mariana placed a reassuring hand on Raphael's shoulder. First, we need to ensure Julia's safety and find her real family. We've already contacted authorities in other regions and are checking records of missing children that might match Julia's profile, Mariana explained. If we can identify the real family, we'll try to reunite them as quickly as possible. In the meantime, Julia will remain under our protection. Raphael nodded, still processing the enormity of the situation. He thought of how Julia, so small and innocent, had been dragged into such a dangerous and complex situation. The thought that she had been separated from her real family was heartbreaking. And the woman who was with her? Raphael asked, still trying to piece things together. Is she involved in this scheme? Mariana paused before answering. The woman, Carla, was found and brought to the station. She's in custody and cooperating with the investigation. According to Carla, she was involved in an illegal adoption scheme and didn't know the true nature of what was happening. She claimed she just wanted to adopt a child but found herself caught up in something much bigger and more dangerous than she expected, Mariana explained. We're investigating her claims, but for now, our focus is on protecting Julia. Raphael remained silent, reflecting on what he had just heard. The moral complexity of the situation was overwhelming. Carla, though involved in illegal activity, seemed genuinely concerned for Julia. But the priority, as Mariana had said, was Julia's safety and well-being. Mariana stood up and looked at Raphael with a determined expression. Raphael, you've done a lot for Julia. I know you care deeply about her, and that's admirable. But we need to follow protocol and ensure everything is done according to the law, Mariana said, gently but firmly. We're doing everything we can to resolve this in the best possible way. Raphael nodded, understanding the gravity of the moment. He knew that despite his emotional connection to Julia, he needed to trust the police and authorities to resolve the situation. He thanked Mariana for her transparency and returned to the room where Julia was. Entering the room, Raphael sat next to Julia, who was still sleeping deeply. He felt a mixture of relief that she was safe and a deep sadness for the situation she was in. Raphael thought about how Julia's life would change drastically in the coming days and weeks, depending on what the investigations revealed. As he waited, Raphael decided that, regardless of what happened, he would do everything he could to help Julia. He committed himself to being there for her, whatever the outcome of the investigations. Raphael knew that Julia would need all the support and love possible to get through what lay ahead. The next morning, the police station was abuzz with the unfolding events. Raphael, who had spent the night in a nearby hotel to be available, returned early to follow the progress of Julia's case. He found Mariana and other officers busy, analyzing information and coordinating efforts to find Julia's real family. Mariana, visibly tired but determined, approached Raphael with a serious expression. "Raphael, we have some updates," she said, gesturing for him to follow her to a private meeting room. Once inside, Mariana closed the door and began to explain. "We've spent the whole night checking records and managed to discover something important. Julia has been identified as a missing child from 3 years ago in a neighboring town." Raphael's eyes widened in shock at the revelation. He felt a mixture of relief and sadness, knowing that the truth about Julia's origin was finally emerging, but also that it meant a story of loss and suffering for her real family. 3 years, Raphael murmured, trying to process the information. "What do we know about her family?" Mariana consulted some notes before continuing. Julia's biological mother, Anna, reported her daughter's disappearance when she was only 2 years old. According to the records, Julia was taken while playing in the yard of her home. The police suspected kidnapping from the beginning, but they never found solid clues about her whereabouts, Mariana explained, with a grave tone. Apparently, Julia was sold through an illegal adoption network, and Carla, the woman she was with, bought the child without knowing her true origin. Raphael felt a pang of anger and sadness. He thought of Anna, Julia's biological mother, who had probably spent the last 3 years in despair and uncertainty, not knowing what had happened to her daughter. He also thought of Carla, who, despite being involved in illegal activity, seemed to have acted with good intentions, unaware of the dark reality of the situation. And Carla? What will happen to her? Raphael asked, concerned about the fate of the woman who had raised Julia during this time. Mariana sighed, clearly grappling with the moral complexity of the case. Carla is cooperating with the investigation. She claims she didn't know Julia had been kidnapped and believed she was adopting the child legitimately, though unofficially, said Mariana. However, we're treating the case seriously, and Carla may face charges, depending on what the investigations reveal about her level of involvement. Raphael nodded, understanding the delicacy of the situation. He knew that, despite Carla's intentions, the law needed to be upheld and that Julia should be reunited with her real family. He also thought about the confusion and pain Julia would feel being separated from the woman she believed to be her mother. Mariana continued, looking directly at Raphael. "We've already contacted Anna, Julia's biological mother. She's on her way and should arrive here in the next few hours. We'll do our best to make this transition as smooth as possible for Julia, but we know it will be an extremely difficult time for everyone involved." Raphael felt a lump in his throat at the thought of the reunion between Julia and Anna. He wondered how Julia would react and how Anna would cope with the fact that her daughter had spent 3 years with another woman. The emotional complexity of the situation was overwhelming. While waiting for Anna to arrive, Mariana suggested that Raphael spend some time with Julia to ensure she felt calm and secure. Raphael immediately agreed, feeling it was the right thing to do. He found Julia playing with some toys in the waiting room, completely unaware of the emotional storm about to unfold. Raphael sat next to Julia and began talking to her, keeping the tone light and cheerful. They talked about cartoons, animals, and what Julia liked to do on weekends. Raphael tried to absorb every moment, knowing that Julia's life was about to change drastically. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Anna arrived at the police station. She was a young-looking woman with eyes full of hope and pain. Seeing Julia, Anna stood still, tears streaming down her face. Julia, initially confused, looked at Raphael and then at Anna, not understanding what was happening. Mariana, sensing the growing tension, approached Anna and tried to explain the situation calmly and carefully. She introduced Anna to Julia, explaining that she was her real mother and that they were there to take her back home. Julia, clutching her teddy bear, looked stunned and unsure. Raphael, feeling the need to intervene, crouched down next to Julia and spoke gently. "Julia, this is your mommy. She loves you very much and has been looking for you all this time," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Julia looked at Anna, who knelt down and extended her arms, tears in her eyes. "My little one, my angel, I am your mommy, Anna. I've missed you so much," Anna said, her voice trembling. There was a moment of heavy silence. Then, Julia, still hesitant, took a step forward and hugged Anna tightly. Anna enveloped her in her arms, openly crying now, relieved and overwhelmed beyond words. Raphael watched the scene with mixed emotions. He knew that despite the pain and trauma, this was a moment of healing and hope. The reunion of Anna and Julia was a testament to relentless love and resilience in the face of adversity. Mariana, also moved, stepped back to give space to the intimate moment. She signaled to the social worker, who began documenting the reunion for the official records. Meanwhile, Raphael remained nearby, ready to help if needed but respecting Anna and Julia's need for privacy. After a few minutes, Anna slightly pulled back, still holding Julia, and looked at her with eyes full of love and tenderness. "I promise we'll never be apart again, dear. I will protect you and love you every day of my life," Anna said, with a firm and caring voice. Julia, still confused but sensing the sincerity in Anna's words, slowly nodded. She looked at Raphael, as if seeking confirmation. Raphael smiled at her, an encouraging and supportive smile. "Everything's going to be okay, Julia. Your mommy is here now," he said, trying to convey reassurance. Anna thanked Raphael with a look, understanding the crucial role he played in reuniting her family. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, filled with emotional and legal challenges, but she was determined to overcome any obstacle to ensure her daughter's happiness and safety. As the reunion continued, the officers and social workers began preparing the necessary documents to formalize Julia's reunification with her biological mother. Mariana, always professional, explained to Anna and Raphael what would happen next, including psychological support for Julia and the legal procedures to ensure Anna had full custody of her daughter. Anna, relieved but still in shock, nodded to all the instructions, eager to start the process of rebuilding her life with Julia. She knew it would take time for her daughter to adjust to the new reality, but she was ready to provide all the love and support needed. Raphael, observing the unfolding events, felt a sense of fulfillment and sadness. He knew that his role in this chapter was coming to an end, but he also knew he had made a significant difference in Julia and Anna's lives. He approached Anna, still holding Julia, and offered his words of encouragement and farewell. "Anna, Julia, if you need anything at all, I'm here to help. It was a privilege to assist in this process, and I only wish the best for you both," Raphael said with a sincere smile. Anna, still holding Julia, looked at Raphael with genuine gratitude. "Raphael, you were an angel for us. I can never thank you enough for what you've done. I promise I will take care of Julia and make sure she knows how much she's loved," Anna replied, tears in her eyes. With these words, Raphael said his goodbyes, knowing that while his role in this chapter was ending, he had left a positive and indelible mark on Julia and Anna's lives. He left the room, giving space for mother and daughter to begin the long journey of healing and reconnection that lay ahead. With the emotional reunion of Anna and Julia, The reality of the complex emotional and practical issues they would face began to set in. The police station, which had been the scene of so many intense emotions, now became a place of transition and planning for Julia's future. The team of social workers and psychologists present began working with Anna to develop a support plan that would help Julia adjust to her new, but also old, family environment. Anna was determined to provide the best possible transition for Julia. She spent the following days immersed in conversations with social workers and psychologists, seeking guidance on how to support her daughter during this adjustment period. Julia, though confused and anxious, began to open up more to Anna, especially when she recognized familiar traits, such as Anna's voice or the scent of perfumes she used to wear. However, the process was not easy. Julia, who had spent 3 years with Carla, considered her a maternal figure and missed her. Anna, understanding the complexity of Julia's feelings, did not try to force an immediate connection. Instead, she focused on building trust and providing a stable and loving environment. She involved Julia in family activities, like cooking together and reading bedtime stories, trying to create new positive memories. The social workers also worked with Carla, who was in custody, to better understand the situation. Carla expressed regret and sadness, repeatedly stating that she didn't know Julia had been kidnapped. She cooperated with the authorities, providing information about the people involved in the illegal adoption scheme. This cooperation was crucial for the ongoing investigations and helped reduce the potential charges against Carla. For Julia, the transition was full of ups and downs. She alternated between moments of curiosity and openness, exploring her new home and asking questions about her biological family, and moments of sadness and confusion, missing Carla and the familiar environment she knew. Anna, heartbroken to see her daughter's pain, did everything she could to support her, often holding Julia as she cried at night, soothing her with gentle words and comforting gestures. The psychologist working with the family emphasized the importance of not forcing Julia to forget Carla, but rather helping her integrate her memories and feelings into a broader understanding of her life. They recommended that Anna allow Julia to talk about Carla and express her feelings freely without fear of judgment. This approach helped Julia begin to process her complex emotions. During this period, Raphael continued to stay in touch with Anna, offering support and friendship. He visited regularly, bringing small gifts for Julia, like children's books and art supplies, things that could help distract her and bring moments of joy. Anna deeply appreciated Raphael's support, seeing him as a figure of stability and kindness that had been crucial for Julia's well-being. One afternoon, during one of these visits, Raphael found Julia and Anna working on a photo album that Anna had started to put together. The album included old photos of Julia, from when she was a baby up to the time she was taken. There were also new photos, taken in recent weeks, capturing happy and reconnecting moments. Raphael noticed that Julia was more smiling and seemed more comfortable around Anna. Anna explained that the album was a way to help Julia rebuild her personal history and understand her journey. She wanted Julia to know that, despite everything, she was always loved and sought after. Raphael was touched by Anna's dedication and Julia's resilience. He felt a wave of hope seeing how the family was slowly healing. However, there were still challenges. Julia sometimes withdrew, especially when she remembered moments with Carla. In one of these instances, during a session with the psychologist, Julia asked if she could see Carla again. Anna, understanding her daughter's feelings, was apprehensive. She knew that allowing a meeting could be complicated, but also recognized the importance of addressing Julia's feelings sensitively. Anna decided to discuss the matter with the psychologists and social workers. They recommended that if possible, A supervised meeting be held to help Julia understand her current situation and give her a sense of closure. Anna, despite her reservations, agreed, knowing that Julia's emotional well-being was paramount. The meeting was carefully planned and took place in a controlled environment with the presence of psychologists and social workers. Carla, emotional, entered the room, and Julia ran to hug her, tears in her eyes. Carla also cried, holding Julia tenderly. They spent a few moments together, talking and sharing memories. Carla, her voice choked with emotion, explained to Julia that although she couldn't stay with her anymore, she would always love her. She assured Julia that Anna was a wonderful mother and that she would be in good hands. Julia, though sad, seemed to understand. The meeting was brief but significant. When Carla said goodbye, she left a letter for Julia, expressing her love and best wishes for the future. After the meeting, Julia returned home with Anna. There were tears, but also a sense of peace. Julia seemed calmer, as if the meeting had helped her better understand her situation. Anna, seeing her daughter's resilience, felt a renewed determination to build a happy and stable life for them. The following days were marked by a gradual and comforting routine. Julia started attending a new school, where she made friends and got involved in activities. Anna continued to attend family counseling sessions, working to strengthen her bond with her daughter. Raphael, though less present physically, kept in touch and offered support whenever needed. The local community, touched by Julia's story, also offered support. Neighbors and friends came together to help Anna and Julia settle in. There was a wave of empathy and solidarity, with many people offering help in various forms, from practical assistance to emotional support. With time, Anna and Julia's lives began to stabilize. The daily routine brought a sense of normalcy that both desperately needed. Julia, now attending school regularly, began to excel in her activities. She made true friends and grew in confidence and security. Anna, in turn, found a new sense of purpose and fulfillment, not just as a mother but as an advocate for important causes. In a quiet evening, as Anna and Julia sat on the couch, flipping through the photo album and reminiscing about the good and bad times they had gone through together, Anna realized how much they had grown and transformed. She looked at Julia, who was laughing at a silly photo from a rainy day when they had gotten wet together, and felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. Anna knew that despite the challenges they had faced, they had overcome incredible obstacles and built a new life full of love and hope. She knew that the future would bring more challenges, but she also knew that with the support of their community, friends like Raphael, and most importantly each other, they could face anything. Julia, feeling Anna's loving gaze, turned to her and smiled. "Mommy, I love you," Julia said, with the simplicity and sincerity of a child. Anna felt her eyes fill with tears, not of sadness but of deep joy and gratitude. "I love you too, my dear. Much more than words can express," Anna replied, hugging Julia tightly.